Hello future tech leaders, I'm Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Let's look at some tricks. Suppose you have a process running on. I told you about these fields: last successful run date, last run date. If we want to fetch, just modified record since last run, which we configure using set properties, last run date, last successful run date. If we use this, that when we are running our integration next time, we only want to fetch the records that were modified after this integration's execution. Unnecessarily, we do not fetch all the records again and again. We use this. Now, sometimes if your iteration has failed or you want to rerun directly, you cannot modify the value of that last run date because it will get updated. To do that in such scenarios, come to Item Management, Deploy Processes, go to your process, click on Edit Process Properties. You can take it back to the exact timestamp of your choice. It would allow you to run your integration from that particular point again if you are using any of these values. Suppose today is 27th. See, last success was on 21st, but I just want to run it from 20th. I can change the timestamp of it up day before again and then rerun my integration. It will pick up the changes from this rate. You can utilize the process properties this way. Any questions on it? I'll take that as no. Assuming everyone is clear with it. Similarly, if you are using this as a persisted property, then you can add this one also here. It will show up automatically here once you have started using it, and then you will be able to edit that date timestamp as well. That is a use case of this. any questions you guys have about designs and everything. Any concept that you have not understood you want me to repeat or explain to you. Then, when you're viewing logs, you have this execution ID that comes in handy many times, where you just copy paste this execution ID to view the logs. Like as a filter, you can add this to view your logs, that you can restrict it out. Then another kind of filter. You can restrict it on your process just to see logs of anything particular. You can restrict it based on your environment. We're logging to like just test QA, all production stage dev, all that kind of things you can apply it for. Then you can also filter out when you have still too much of data here. If it was a manual retry or a manual execution or a scheduled execution, scheduled retry or just the sub process. You can view it from here, segregated all this information. Now there is another configuration in it, which is documents. Again, when I told you about a tracking field currently about this file name, which we added readmext, what I can do is I can just copy paste this add filter, add track fields from here, choose the SEF one, and then value to search. I can apply it like this. It will show me the documents with this. Similarly, suppose you're searching for an employee. ID from you have like, link 1000, 2000, or maybe 1,50,000 records there. How would you search? You cannot traverse through each page in the process log. There, this document-based searching comes in handy, where you will see your process execution for this one. That is its use case. Then let's look at this. Also, again, when you are designing, focus on the naming conventions as well of the process you know. Let's remove all this. where you are passing proper names like this underscore sorry in the square brackets, or what action your API is having for your connections like this. Connections and operations part of it. That it's easy identification. Like it's a HTTP connection and it's for which system it's a weather and what operation it is doing. Get weather reports. Always be careful with the naming convention, even like for the assessment. This will be noted, a proper naming convention and everything. Then let's read through this. Use a business rule for complex layers, multiple decisions instead of decision shapes. I asked you in the assessment yesterday, it is always best practice to use a business rule shape. Then for scripting, prefer to use JavaScript for your if-else statements, all this kind of thing. But if you have these time zone conversion or timestamp scripts, use Groovy for it. And use the latest version of Groovy 0.4 because 1.5 is deprecated. And also do not use business rule if you have just a very simple comparison between two values, because the time consumed by business rule is little higher than of a decision shape. Then again, as we discussed even here, it's mentioned about the connector call. Avoid using connector call. Use a HTTP call or whatever connector it's available. Use it directly and then cache it and use it because this increases the performance latency, basically. If you are using set properties, here at one point is here, another point here, another point here, try reuse. Setting up everything in like minimal number of set properties because you can set them as blank values and start itself and reuse them later in the process. Any questions? Again about this one I was talking about. Dynamic process property. Only use this persistence when you want to use it in your next execution. If you want that value from previous execution. Only for like the timestamp thing, use it. Do not use it for everything because again it will take up some memory and resources. Few more resources will be allocated just for storing out the information of this from previous execution. Be careful around this as well. Again, like I said, enable document tracking in all your connection calls that it becomes easy to track it through. And if you want, you can use notes also. If there is, some complex logic. Wait, how do we add a node? Now let's talk about this as well. Nodes you can add like this. If suppose your map shape has some very complex logic, or if you just want even for remembering of like wherever you are stuck, you can add a node here like this and just save it. Keep it here, drag and drop anywhere and just store it like this. It will have your details, like if someone else is modifying or playing around, they can add a node that you know what changes they had done, or something like that. This comes in handy sometimes. Let's look at this. This comes in handy sometimes when your integration design is performance oriented. You will have to configure it from here. Process options. In general, your process mode is on general only. Ensure this is check marked capture run dates, that you're capturing last run date and last successful run date, because you will be heavily using it in like more than 8% of your integrations. Again, do not enable simultaneous execution. Instead, use flow control. This is enabled only for web server where you know Boom is exposed as an API. Otherwise, if you want to allow parallel execution, use a flow control shape. Then sometimes your business may come to you like for production. They want you to purge data immediately. You can enable that from here, but then you will have to redeploy your integration throughout everywhere. Dev QA stage and then production. The best approach is go to data management. If suppose this is your production environment, you can check mark it from this option that it does not impact other environments and you don't need to deploy it from here. But if they say no, we want the data to be purged immediately in all environments, then you enable it from here. Now for low latency modes, where it is more performance oriented. Boomi does not store the documents. Logs are limited. It does not capture the run dates and everything, and logs are only generated whenever there is an error. Otherwise, logs are not generated. You are saving up on lot of time, and even like parallel execution is enabled. Like your Boomi API can be hit 20, 20, 40 times simultaneously in parallel. Again, you can use it for your regular process also, but then you would not have any logs and any documents information. It will just be very fast execution in this mode. Then, if suppose any teams come back asking questions about missing data or what failed or something, you cannot do anything if you are using a low latency mode. Be careful around when you are using this low latency thing and try to configure email alerts for those integrations that your email alert has all the required information which you would not be able to view in Boomi process reporting. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.